Hi, it's Kay with Kay's Creative Home. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to put together this beautiful bicycle wreath for the spring and summer. Let's get started. So to make our bike shaped wreath form, we're going to start with these two bike wheels that I got from Dollar Tree. And what I did was kind of put one down and turn the second one so that I get more spoke effects. And you can see if I take them off center, you get even more. But I couldn't figure out how to keep them together once I took them off center. So I settled with just putting it together, turning one slightly, and then using some zip ties to hold it together. But it looks more like a bike wheel just by doing that. So what I have here is one I've already zip tied together, and if this were a clock, I did it at the 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the 7 to 9 and 11 position on the clock, because that area will be covered by flowers. So the next thing I did was got some greenery for the background, and you can see those little indentations on the stem. That's where I try to cut my flowers. It's a little easier to get through that wire in that area. And then I had some peonies, and I can't remember, I always forget if these are azaleas or hydrangeas, but I had the pink flowers too. And then I have this garland, which I found at Hobby Lobby on sale, so I'm going to be using that as filler. I'm also going to be using some ribbon picked up at Sam's Club, and it has this beautiful bike with the welcome sign. I got some tan with the white dots, and then some pink to pick up the pink color and the flowers with the bike. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is start clipping these flowers, again, where the indentation is. And in this case, they will still be long enough, and you can see the little wire cutters I had didn't work even at the indentation. So I had to get out my real wire cutters, which I got from the Home Depot, and I'm going to clip all of the greenery. And then I'm going to start piecing them together like I'm making two bouquets. So I'm just kind of laying them out in a range, and I'm trying to think of how I would want them to look if they were, completed on this bike wheel. And I'm trying to decide if I want to put them on first, if I want to put the bow on first. Because usually it's easier to do it this way, but I always seem to get my bow off center when I do this. So in this case, I'm going to try putting the bow on first. In the end, it works out, but I wouldn't recommend it. Put your flowers on first. It's just easier to manipulate the flowers. Alright, so like I said, I decided to try putting the bow on first. So I'm going to make myself a quick bow, starting with the, I'm actually going to start with the pink ribbon. So I have my pink ribbon, which I got from Dollar Tree. This is one of my favorite ribbons from Dollar Tree. They're woven ribbon. I think it comes in pink and blue and maybe a few other colors, but these are two that I have with spring. Oh, the tan. It comes in that neutral color too. It's a really nice ribbon, and the wire inside holds the shape pretty well. So I'm just measuring out. I did a 6-inch tail, and then I'm doing 6-inch loops. So while you're watching me put this bow together, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with others. And if you're not a family member, consider becoming one by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell so you'll be notified when new videos are released. So I've got the pink ribbon laid out, and now the next color I think I chose was the tan and white, because I wanted the bike to be right on top, since that's like the star of the bow, is to have that bike design showing front and center. So again, I'm just doing another 4-loop bow, and I'm trying to, what I like about using a bow maker is you can kind of arrange the loops as you're going. So I'm trying to arrange the loops where I want them to end up when I'm finished. Get that done right now instead of waiting until the end and trying to move everything around. So if you and not familiar with making bows, I have an entire series on how to make a bow. You'll find that in the description box below. And in that series, I do all types of bow using all types of materials. So you can get to see not only how to make the bow, but how different bows look using different materials. So last I have the bike ribbon, and again I said the bike and the tan and white polka dot that came from Sam's Club. They make a pretty good ribbon, and I'm going to get this in here. And now this one's going to take a few more twists and turns because I want to make sure that each time I make a loop, the bike is right side up, and in this case the first one I do, it's upside down. At least for me, it's right side up for you. So I'm going to take that whole loop and twist it again so that now the bike is right side up for me. And you can see on that side, it came, as soon as I made the loop, it was right side up. So the other, when I do my loop on what's the left of the screen, each time I do it there, I'll have to either twist the loop, or sometimes I do this effect here where I actually put it in so that the ribbon that's coming back toward the center is just off to the side, and that way the bike is right side up. So I'm getting my last loop in there, and then I'm gonna make my 6-inch tail and snip this ribbon. In this case, I went a little bit past the 6-inch because there's no use in cutting off the the beginning of the bike or part of your welcome sign. So I try to make it all fit. So I'm going to use a zip tie to pull this bow together, and I have one to hold the bow together, and then I'm going to have another one inside of that to attach it to the Wreath frame. So again, before I do all that, I'm kind of just laying out where I want the loops and the tails of the bow, what position I want them to be in, so that I don't have to do so much work after I put that zip tie on, because once it's gathered together all tightly, it's a little harder to manipulate. Not impossible, but it is a little harder to manipulate the parts of your bow. So I'm taking my zip tie, going up underneath the bow, and bringing it up around each side, putting it together a little bit. Hear that little bit of zip sound? Pulling it off of my bow maker, swinging that zip tie to the back, and making sure it's in the center of my bow. And then the zip tie I'm going to use to attach it to the bike frame, you can see I'm sliding that in there, so it'll be a part of that centerpiece there where I've pulled the bow together. And now I'm just going to pull it as tightly as I can because I'm pretty much have the loops where I want them. You can see I'm doing a little bit shaping again. And once I get this together, I have a little flathead tool that I use to just grip this and pull that zip tie as tightly as possible. And we're almost finished our bow, and then we can move on to the next thing. I hope you're enjoying your spring. It's been pretty nice here. I'm on the East Coast and the weather's been pretty nice. Started getting some yard work done this past weekend, which was really nice. I like getting all that spring work done outside while the weather's still nice and cool. Alright, I've pulled this as tightly as possible. I'm clipping it, making sure I don't cut the zip tie that's going to attach to the bike frame. Now I'm putting it at the 9 o'clock position, and then I'm going to just wrap this zip tie around here and pull it as tightly as I can. And I happen to use that tool to pull it because my hands, the grip isn't so good, and that plastic kind of slides through your fingers. And of course they make a tool to cut the zip ties, and I'm thinking about investing in one. I just haven't been making a whole bunch of wreaths of this nature. So, sometimes you have to decide if it's cost effective. Now what I did was put a little bit of glue on the edge of that zip tie because sometimes you can't get it trimmed perfectly, and it'll have a little piece of that stem of the zip tie still there. So I put a little dab of glue on there so you get a nice rounded soft effect instead of having that zip tie sticking out, and that could possibly scratch your door. So now I'm going to be clipping my flowers so I can start making my arrangement to go around the wreath. The flowers are from a local store, supply store, and yeah, my greenery too came from the same place. So now I have a few zip ties. I'm going to be doing quite a few. So I just arrange the greenery so that some is a little taller than the other, and I'm kind of going to make a little bouquet. So I put together, I think it was 3 stems, and I'm going to zip tie those together. Get those together tightly. And then I'm going to spread them out a little bit because there's wire in there. You can kind of shape things up the way you want it to go. And then I'm going to do my flowers. I started with the pink, but in the end I think I'm going to change it around, use the white first because they were 2 together and they were already at alternating heights. So I just put them on just as they were, and then I put a pink one to each side. So I'm just trying to slide that pink one in there and not pull the greenery up into my little bouquet. Make sure the greenery stays in the background. And now I'm zip tying all of that together. So now that I have that together in one piece, again doing a little bit of shaping with that greenery. And then I'm going to lay it up under this bow and see how it looks. See if I'm getting the effect I want. And yeah, pretty happy with that, the way that's coming together. But this is where, I wanted to make sure the bow was centered, but this is where I started running into some difficulties when I'm trying to zip tie it to the bike wheel and the bow is in the way basically. So again, if I do this again in the future, where I'm using the bow with the flowers, I will put the bow on last. So I got that first little bouquet zip tied beneath the bow as it is facing you, and I made as identical as I could, the same little bouquet, and I'm zip tying that together, and then I'm going to put it on the other side of the bow, which will be the top facing you. So as I did on the other side, I'm now going to zip tie this bouquet to the other side of the bow and get it attached nice and snugly. And some of my leaves are getting in the way. The other thing I found by trying to do the bow first is, as I'm putting the flowers on, I kept pushing the bow to the side. So in the end, it ended up twisted to the side more than facing forward. So later on, I'll have to readjust that. So like I said, I was giving it a try, but from now on, I'll do my bow placement last. Now that everything is secured snugly with a zip tie, I am clipping off the ends, trying to get again as close as I possibly can to the head of that zip tie so there's no little piece sticking out that could scratch your door. And then once I get that snipped, I actually turn the zip tie a little bit anyway to make sure that, again, that little piece isn't sticking straight out the, scratch your door. It's turned inwards into the uh, flowers and bow of the wreath. Even with that, I'm adding some glue, and I'll show it to you in a minute, all along where the stems are. And again, that's just to get a really nice snug fit so that the flowers, even though I have them zip tied, I don't want them to be sliding back and forth, or, you ever drop something, you just catch it by whatever you have closest to your hand. So if someone were trying to hang their wreath and it dropped and they just grabbed it and caught it by the bow or caught it by the flowers, things won't start slipping apart. So that glue is there just as a reinforcement. Make sure everything stays together. Again, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with others. And if you're not a family member, please consider becoming one by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell so that you'll be notified when videos are released. And so there you can see all the zip ties I have and the glue that is holding everything together nice and snugly. Now here's where you can really see how I have pushed that bow toward the outer rim. So I'm going to shape my flowers, and I'm going to move that bow too back in place. Again, these flowers are on wire stems, so I want to not have the flowers just facing out. I want them to face you as you're walking towards your door. So I'm actually bending them so that some of the heads of the flowers are looking straight up, as you can see. That way when you hang it on your door, it'll be looking right at you and you really get to see the full blossom. Now the ends of my greenery were sticking straight out, so I decided to zip tie those to the frame also, so that it'll have more of a rounded effect. The greenery will have a rounded effect. It won't be sticking out off into Never Never Land. And here's where I start to shape that bow, like I said, and to turn it. I'm going to actually grab it and turn it more so that it's facing you also and not off to the side. Got a few tails I need to snip. Make sure everything is done and complete. Fluffing it up nice and fresh. And here's what we have so far. Yeah, right there's where I grab it and really just push it toward the front. Alright, I decided I needed a little bit of filler, so I went and grabbed this garland that I found at Hobby Lobby at the end of the season. I think this one I found at 90% off. It's so thin, I think a lot of people were just wondering what in the world you could do with it, but when you make things and you pull things apart and find that the pieces are cost effective, so if you get something 90% off and you can take these pieces and break them apart and make something else with them, it can be worthwhile. So I'm just going to pull all of these off, and then I'm going to start incorporating them into these floral design that I made. And I'm actually going to keep this wire because it's a nice strong piece, and sometimes you make floral arrangements and you just need some wire to make some of your florals a little taller. So before I start gluing them in, I wanted to just kind of lay them in place and get an idea of how I wanted this to shape up. Again, I've been making wreaths for a while, but I'm still not one of those people who can just automatically see everything in my head. Sometimes I have to place things and say, yep, I like that, and then I go back and glue it. Or zip tie it in, whatever I'm doing to make it a permanent fixture. So I've gotten those like I like them. Here I'm pulling them back out, and even these little ones, shaping them up a little bit, giving them a little bit of fluff. And I'm going to add I add a little bit of glue to the tip because these flowers actually have leaves and flowers that move up and down the stem. So sometimes you want to make sure they don't move so far that they come right off the stem. So some of those I end up gluing in place. So I got that position just where I want it, adding a little bit of glue to the tips, and I'm going to start putting them into my arrangement. The last time I made a video like this, someone was saying, you need a glue pot. I'm like, yep, I sure do. I'll get one eventually. Again, I'm not always making floral arrangements, so I don't do this all the time, but as you can see, I got a little mini glue gun. It's one of the cheaper ones, and it's doing me fine right now. But eventually, I'll get it together and find myself a nice glue pot to use. I think one brand is Sure Bonder. I saw someone use on another YouTube video. I'm like, well, that one's nice and cute. It's small, didn't take up their whole, didn't take up a lot of counter space. But I was wondering how far I could get the stems into a pot that small, because sometimes you need that glue to come all the way up the stem to make sure it gets reinforced snugly and tightly into your arrangement. So, of course, the other alternative is to do what the others do, is to get a small electric fry pan and just use that. Turn it on low and use that to heat up your glue. So again, look, I've gone off talking about glue pots. So I'm back to finishing up adding these florals in, just to give it a little bit of fullness, and to add some more color, some more texture. That just brings together your wreath nicely when you got a lot of different colors, a lot of different textures, a lot of different designs, shapes. That all just makes things come together really nicely and adds some interest. You want to have a design in the end, as much as you can afford. You want a design that when you look at, you don't just see one thing. Your eye keeps moving and you're looking at it and saying, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. You're discovering new things in the arrangement, whether it be a wreath or a floral arrangement. Yeah, I can't wait till I get to the point where I can buy things in bulk, and then I can add a lot, even more, to my arrangements. Alright, so once I got my wreath together, I'm trying to decide now if I want to add this butterfly, and the purpose was so that I could secure the two frames together on the other side where it's nothing. I felt a little nervous about that, but the 3 zip ties I have on underneath the flowers and the bow now, and then I decided to add another zip tie right in the center and put my butterfly right there in the center. And after I did that, I felt confident that these 2 frames would stay together. I just did not want those 2 frames to slip apart, but they're not going anywhere. They are snugly together. And even though there's nothing gripping on that other side, like I said, they're not going anywhere. I've got them zip tied together and glued together all up underneath the flowers, so they are very secure. So I added that butterfly there, and in the end I thought I wish I had kind of added some more butterflies throughout. So next time I do this, I will make sure I have enough butterflies to spread throughout the whole design. So here's my finished product. I'm going to show you some pictures, of course, in the end, and show you a few snapshots of how it would look on your door, so you can get an idea of how it would look with a different color background. Of course, we just shape. I'm going to bring this to a close, though, even as I'm shaping. So I look forward to spending more time with you. I thank you for spending this time with me again, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.